Hi there. While everybody is in panic over the extent of the BP oil spill, I think it's a very useful event if you look at what it reveals about finances and pensions in the world. Of course, it's revealed that 50% of the British people have their pension funds invested in oil, either BP or Shell or some other oil company. It makes a lot of sense, or it used to make a lot of sense, to do that because oil companies make profit and oil is money. Oil is productive capacity in society. So if you as a pensioner want to be secure in the future, you might want to have a share in an oil company. Sadly, of course, these are shares. These are not oil futures, which would be much smarter. They are oil shares, so they can basically plummet for no reason whatsoever. There's a video online that says that BP made £45 billion profit, that is profit after all the cost last year, and the oil spill might cost in the range of £675 million to clean up. That's the estimate now, so let's say it's tenfold that, it's 6 billion. It's still a fraction of the profit that they make. So the falling share prices is a complete con job. It's a complete misdirection, and I think the only reason why it happens is that it would be very convenient for BP to go bankrupt and all the assets be redistributed over other companies, and the claims legally being invalid or irretrievable, and that will still save a couple of 600 million pounds. But there's so much to this whole BP story because of course, everybody knows oil is running out. So these pensioners have spent their whole life paying for their pension. It is invested into oil companies. What they do with the money, I have no idea, because the only thing they might want to buy with that money is oil, and they produce oil. So oil companies don't need any money. It's such a crazy world in which oil companies keep up the ruse that they have to be profitable and that they make a profit, while basically only to furnish the banks and furnish the governments and subsidize all that stuff. It's such a big mess financially, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. But there's a very interesting bright light at the end of this whole tunnel, and that is that the weak point, the political weak point, has been exposed. It is the pensions. It is the pensions of the people and the investment of the pension funds. So the scenario is this: if you are a Democrat, if you are a democratic mindset, you might be a Republican, but you might be a constitutional Republican, which pretty much is being same as being a Democrat. Of course, freedom of speech, freedom of all kinds of things, and lots of justice. And you want to basically overturn the current oligarchy, then the only thing you need to do is make sure that you don't invest in oil companies and that your pension is not invested in oil companies, that none of the money that you have or none of the wealth that you generate is invested in oil companies. And then you basically say to the pension fund, listen, you have to invest that money in alternative energy sources. Why is that a smart thing? Well, imagine I have a family member, it's an aunt of mine, and she has a pension, and it's going to pay out 70,000 euros. For that money, you can buy, I think, let's say 30 kilowatts of electrical power, continuous electrical power, based on solar energy. How much stuff can you produce with that power? Of course we don't know, because we don't know the energy cost of our food and everything, and the energy companies are going after that measure in order to make energy scarce and then make energy money, and then of course tax us all and dominate everybody using that tax. While the opposite is that, of course, if I know that it takes about 20 kilowatts per day to let me live, to let me have my life, then of course I can invest in solar panels to the tune of 20, so that it produces 20 kilowatt per day, which is not an unimaginable big amount of energy. It gives it to the grid, it gives it to the society for free, for everybody to use, and then I know that, or I sell it to somebody in the economy, and then I know that I can have my food and my drink and everything. So that's how the pensioner should reason. They should think, listen, if I'm old, how much energy is needed to sustain me? And you'll be amazed how little that is. That is virtually nothing. If I look at my own mother, she's a special person. She is very, very environmentally conscious, even though she doesn't tell anybody that they should. She uses next to no electricity, and she plants her own crops and stuff like that, which keeps her healthy, because the ground has all kinds of bacteria and stuff that keep you very healthy. It's a kind of symbiosis that we have developed over the course of the evolution. And well, of course, she doesn't want to do this labor all her life. But if she were to take a share of a crop of a farmer with a big farm, then it would be next to nothing to simply live and have her. Of course, if you don't own your house, if you don't own your garden, if you don't own your car, if you don't own anything, because the bank has everything in possession to exploit you, then of course you're fucked, because you have to make money all the time. But if you look at the base level, the simple cost of existing, then it is next to nothing. So this is how the pensioner should reason, and especially when you're a Democrat, you should say, listen up. First of all, being invested in oil companies as a pension fund is a disaster for climate. So I'm basically killing my offspring and my next generation by securing myself by using the least secure option, the most devastating option that I have in order to financially secure myself. So I want to get rid of that. The next step you do is you try to find out and you try to establish how much energy there is needed to sustain you. And if that is 20 kilowatts, then you spend your money on that capacity and you give it to society, or you create a cooperation. And maybe that's one of the functions that we can create with real carbon credits. A website, real carbon credits, sorry, I'm not pronouncing it, realcarboncredits.com, where you simply say, well, listen, if there, and the stupid thing, it is prohibited by the energy companies and lobbying to do these kind of trades, I believe, I'm not sure. And of course they prohibit it a lot. But you basically want to trade your energy with the producers of what you really need, and bypass the whole financial system. These are all crooks and criminals. They're all lazy people that learn some administrative skills and think they're keeping together a world that would not be such a mess if they simply stayed at home and did some gardening. And then you're a true Democrat, because not only you're being a climate activist, not only you're being very smart about your future, because you are increasing your survivability and that of your children and your children's children, but you're also taking the money out of the Republican Party, the power out of it. And if you go on long enough, then you can, these oil companies will go bankrupt, and you can say, okay, you can produce oil, but on a non-profit basis. All profit goes to the state to generate alternative energy. And that's such an easy victory, and you don't even need an election to do it. You can simply do it right now. You can simply go to your pension fund and say, listen, I want you to invest differently. I want to, and I don't want to have anything to do with it. And you can go to karmabank.com and of course join a boycott of all these oil companies. And then they'll lose their power and you'll be free. And of course, then you can solve the real problem, which is, basically surviving in a period of climate change and all that stuff. But thanks for listening, and I hope you have a good day.